What's going on, party people? This is another episode of the Center Hub's very own, the Bird Rights Podcast. With me today, we have friends of the pod, plural friends. Yes, I have multiple friends. Corban, Julian, Maxwell, all frequent guests of Bird Rights and all the other Center Hub stuff we have been doing. Before I introduce them, we just did, myself, Corban, Maxwell, and Conrad did a John Morant trade scenario pod, I'd say, on Corban's show, Indie Basketball. So go check that out. This is basically an extension of that. That this episode, we're basically doing 10 blockbuster trades that we want to see happen. So I came up with 10 blockbuster trades, being the trade guru that I hold myself out to be. And, these three guys are going to be reacting to them. So without further ado, again, there's four of us on here. So I'm going to try to wrap us up pretty quickly, given we're going over 10 different trades. This is also on YouTube. So if you guys want to follow along with the screenshots of, all the trades happening, given how many moving parts there will be, feel free. That is going to be on the Bird Rates YouTube channel. Corban, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Happy to be on with you, esteemed gentlemen, and excited to talk some basketball and, more importantly, some cool trades.
Corban, it's been a couple, I'd say, months at this point. Since, you and I were doing every Bird Rates episode together. It's been a little bit. So we're happy to have you back.
Thanks for having me back on. Appreciate it.
Julian, how you doing?
I feel great today, guys. I'm finally getting back into my draft process. A little bit late. Just a little bit. But better late than never, right?
And Maxwell, how you doing today?
I've been better. My Commanders lost bright and early in the morning in Spain. But the Wizards have a great opportunity today against the Brooklyn Nets to secure a victory. So, there's still some sunshine at the end of the rainbow.
Don't you want to lose that game?
This is a principal win. We have to beat the Nets. We can lose every other game. We have to beat the Brooklyn Nets today. We have lost so many games in a row. I think we're at 9 or 10 right now. It's pretty bad. No, we're at 9. So let's go Wiz, baby.
With that said, let's get into, as I said, I did 10 different trades. I'm Corban. Which trade? Actually, no, let's do this. Let's do the John Morant trade first, just because Corban and Maxwell already talked about the one I picked out on Indie Basketball. After that, we'll pick which trades we want to hear and in what order. So let me share my screen real quick. So the first trade we're doing is the John Morant 3-team trade. Again, Maxwell and Corban already saw this one. We already talked about it on Indie Basketball. So if you haven't checked out that episode, we analyzed this trade on there as well. So can you guys, let me see how that turned out. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay. So John Morant and Miles Bridges, Michigan State alumni, head to the Phoenix Suns, as Matty Spear has always intended. The Memphis Grizzlies get Colin Sexton's expiring money, Royce O'Neal, Oso Ighodaro, and basically 2 swaps. I believe the 2029 swap they're getting, Houston has the most favorable. They get the second most favorable. And then the 2032 swap with Phoenix. If Phoenix is still terrible in 2032, given they don't have any of their own picks for the next 7 years. Hopefully John Morant would alleviate that. That's kind of the purpose of the trade. And then the Hornets get Jalen Green and Grayson Allen. So it's 3-teamer. If for anybody watching the audio and not the video component. Julian, given Maxwell and Corban have already seen this trade, I want to get your thoughts first.
I'm confused how this makes sense for the Hornets.
Okay. So my rationale during Corban's episode was that Grayson Allen, we saw how good the Hornets offense has been with Concanupal. So you're adding another shooter, Grayson Allen, at pretty good money. And then they would probably have to view Jalen Green, if this were the trade, as a positive, asset with upside. Obviously, I know that depends on who you ask, but Jalen Green. But, Miles Bridges, I just don't know at this point. So, you're kind of making that swap. And so, what? You're confused about the Hornets aspect.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really understand how having Jalen Green, who I guess if you view him as a positive asset, makes any sense with LaMelo. I guess he makes sense with Khan a little. That's the part that I feel like they would need some sort of front court piece for this trade to make any sense. I don't know exactly where they get that from, unless the Grizzlies are also trading Jaren Jackson Jr., which makes this a completely different trade. It is also kind of funny that the Suns have acquired the two highest character players in this trade. And I say that ironically. Please don't cancel me. I know that Miles Bridges is not a very good person. That's a really interesting locker room. I will say, for the Grizzlies, I think it makes sense. And I think player-wise, I understand it for the Suns. Again, not a big fan of the character of either of the two guys that they're getting. But from a talent perspective, I think Ja and Booker make a lot of sense together. I just think the Hornets aspect, I think the Hornets would want, something's. I mean, they're kind of trying to build something, not particularly well, but they're kind of trying to build something. So I don't know that this necessarily makes sense for them particularly. But yeah, that's my only criticism. Everything else looks great, Steven.
What I will say is at the end of Corban's episode on indie basketball, we basically said, where does Ja Morant end up? My location, I believe I said, was Phoenix. Again, go listen to that episode on the indie basketball feed. You could also find that on the Center Hub Substack page, the centerhub.substack.com. I posted it on there as well. And right before we started recording, Maxwell said, well, I think Phoenix is one of three places for Ja Morant. Maxwell, I'm assuming the other two were the Pelicans and Sacramento, or did you have a different destination in mind? You're muted.
Sorry, bad audio. I did think Sacramento was one, but I was thinking that Miami might be the other.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe one of four destinations, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Maxwell, do you have anything to add about this trade? We already talked about it a little bit. But...
Yeah, nothing more that I didn't already talk about in the previous podcast. I want to reiterate. I think this is a good reset for the Grizzlies. If you're going to get off Ja Morant and actually embrace the rebuild, I said it on the last podcast. You're not really tying yourself to anything in this trade. You're getting off the Ja Morant money. And the contracts that you are tying yourself to are either expiring or easy to move. So, and you're adding to your draft pick stash that you've already started to grow with the Desmond Bane trade. So. I like this for the Grizzlies, and I always like trades if you're going to rebuild where you're not tying yourself down. So, and you're adding draft capital. So, I like this for the Grizzlies the most.
Corban, anything to add on this trade?
Nothing new. I thought it was really interesting. Like you said, a lot of different moving parts and how they fit on their respective teams is interesting and kind of contextualized, but all in all, solid to me.
So, the last thing I'll say is, there's a lot of speculation among NBA executives from what I've heard that basically they're looking at the Kyrie Irving when the Nets traded him to the Mavs, that sort of package for Ja Morant as his value. And that at the time was Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and a first-round pick. If and when Ja Morant gets traded, that's probably what we're looking at. Let me pivot to a different Phoenix trade here, actually. Because if they decide to pivot off of Ja Morant, then they're going the opposite direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair.
Devin Booker to the Detroit Pistons.
Dude, this is blurry as heck on my screen.
Let me see if I could zoom in a little.
Yeah, ditto on mine. Oh, now it's better. Now it's
I'll just have to zoom in on them. It looks like. Can you guys see
All right,
that?
I can
a
mostly
little
read
bit
that.
more. I can make it out, but if you could do a little more, perfect.
Okay. So
Whoa.
the Pistons are really poised, and I'll spoil it a little bit. This isn't the only trade where I have the Pistons acquiring someone. Like, they're poised to trade for someone next to Cade Cunningham, like a legitimate star. They're 11-2, the first place in the East. Cade is a bona fide borderline superstar at this point in the NBA, and like they have the assets to get done another trade. So this one, I was actually texting with Josh Earl. As Corban knows, Josh and I critique each other's trades like no other. And I texted Josh and said, do you think if the Pistons give up these 4 picks and these 3 swaps, they'll need to give up a Saw too? Josh said probably not. This is a massive haul, I will say. So basically we have, for anyone listening audio, Devin Booker, Royce O'Neal, Nick Richards, Jordan Goodwin, and Nigel Hayes going to Detroit. And again, a lot of those just to make roster spots work, so on and so forth. It's basically Devin Booker and salary filler, even though Royce O'Neal is a good role player, would be for the Pistons. 4, Tobias Harris, who's an expiring contract, so it's all Phoenix reset the books. Or they could re-sign him if they choose. Duncan Robinson, Jaden Ivey, Assault Thompson, Ron Holland, first in 26, 28, 2030, and 2032, and swaps in 27 and 29. So it's a massive trade, obviously. Jaden Ivey's like a guy I don't know how to value because, like, again, he's an expiring deal. Like, he's going to hit restricted free agency and he's going to want to get paid. So, like, how valuable is a guy like that who's going to want a $25+ million contract, most likely, who hasn't really proved it yet, you know?
What is he getting paid for?
But that's what I'm saying. He's going to want $25 million, whether it's deservingly so or not.
Yeah. He'll not be like, well, it's injured, so I guess I'll take a discount. Although he probably should, but yeah.
But you're risking at this point, as we've seen in restricted free agency with Cam Thomas and Quentin Grimes this year, like, does Jaden Ivey take the qualifying offer, bet on himself, and all of a sudden you have him 1 year and lose him? You know, like, that's a risk Phoenix would be taking by not paying him. So, like, that's why, like, I didn't really know how to value him, which is why I ultimately did throw Assault Thompson in the trade. But, Corban, I'm going to get your opinion first on this one. Devin Booker to Phoenix.
To Detroit, yeah.
To Detroit, obviously.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I guess it gives Cade Cunningham like a real running mate, a consistent scoring guy who could play on ball or off ball. You know, if one's hot, the other can be more facilitator, kind of string along second units. I like it in that respect. I'm still trying to make sense of literally all the other moving pieces.
So let me say this. Detroit's roster, if this trade were to be done, they would have Cade, they would have Booker, obviously a phenomenal one, the best backcourts in the league, if not the best. Mm-hmm. Cade and Booker. Royce O'Neal would basically slot into Tobias Harris' spot.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Doran, who's obviously taken a massive step this season, would still be there. Isaiah Stewart would still be there as the backup. After that, it does obviously Karis LeVert. So, like, they do have some role players. But, like, again, admittedly, like, Detroit is trading a lot of their depth. But they might be fine with that at this point. If they're this good with Cade, imagine having Cade, Booker, Duran, LeVert, and O'Neal as a starting 5.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the Eastern Conference, not the worst for sure. You give a boatload of draft picks for Phoenix's trouble, which is commensurate for the star that Booker is. And then you kind of help start the rebuild. I mean, you got some younger guys who will phase out in a couple of years, which you can hang around with, in Duncan Robinson, to a lesser extent Tobias, right? But then between Ron Holland, Assault Thompson, and Jaden Ivey, like, you got those guys. You got Jalen Green, also Iguodaro, you know, obviously Mark Williams. Like, you got some good young pieces to fully begin a rebuild. I guess I would like to see from the other guys, and even from you, Steven, like, which team would be the first to say no? Because, like, it does feel like a trade where one team's like, I mean, for the value, I think it's not bad, but I could see, like, if a team was to say no on that, which would be the most likely? I
would say Phoenix, just because there's a real scenario where they don't trade Booker unless he requests out.
Totally fair.
This offer with the SAR in it is probably the Godfather offer that Detroit just makes to try to pry Devin Booker away from Phoenix. Because we need to remember, Phoenix doesn't have any of their own picks, so it's not advantageous for them to blow it up, trade Booker, have all these young guys if they don't even have their own picks. But at the same time, this is giving them young talent they can't acquire with their own picks because they don't have them. So that's why I kind of just put together a Godfather. Or if Booker asked out, then maybe they don't acquire a star because then that could limit their destinations. But I think Phoenix, despite how good and competitive an offer this is, I think Phoenix would be the one to say no, if anything. Maxwell, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that Detroit's probably sending way too much for Devin Booker at 29, being under contract for what he's on the hook for the next 4 years.
I think 5 now.
Right? Yeah. Like it's till 29, 30, and he's on that Supermax. What him and Kat they signed that 2 years ago? It was like the record-breaking Supermax at the time. I don't know if you can do this if you're the Pistons. I mean, Jaden Ivey, Asar, and Ron Holland. I mean, let's keep Ivey out of it. Just Thompson and Holland. I mean, those are two of your best defensive wings on your roster right now. You trade both of those guys, they're not even close to reaching their potential or realizing what their potential is, and maybe acquiring Devin Booker, pushes up your title window. But now you're asking K to do so much more defensively, playing alongside Booker, Karis LeVert, and Joe Schmo, whoever else is going to be joining them. Hopefully Royce O'Neal's playing because they're going to really need him. So I don't know. I don't like sacrificing their defensive infrastructure, especially when it's like players that are under 24 who are already like easily top 50 defenders in the NBA when healthy, for Devin Booker, who's, easily a top 20 player, but I don't know if he really fits with what the Pistons are building. Like, do you need Devin Booker to come in and average 28 and 4 for this team? I'm not sure if that makes the Pistons that much better than the East's elite. Like, is that going to push them over the top with the Cleveland Cavaliers? I mean, Booker's going to be now attacked on defense if you put him on that team too. I mean, he's going to be the one that teams are going to attack. So I don't know. I just think, and then the first round picks, like that's a lot of first round picks to send for Devin Booker. I mean, I would figure it'd just be a couple. So I was surprised to see that many swaps and picks being sent back.
What if
I understand the Ivy contract's a little weird, but I mean, even for Ron Holland, I think Ron Holland would probably be worth close to a first round pick just straight up right now, and then probably a Sar Thompson. So it's like, it's like value of like 8 first round picks.
So what if Gasol was not in the trade? Then do you think that's more accurate in terms of Booker's value?
I think you have to. I think you have to probably take one of them out and probably take one of the first round picks out. To be honest with you, because I think the money, the age, and the defensive ability, like right now with Booker, I think you're just overvaluing him. Like this is a trade that you make for like young Anthony Davis, coming from New Orleans type of move. I think Devin Booker is probably just a few years past that. But I like the construct of this trade a lot. I think it fits for both teams, and I like the idea. I just think the Pistons are giving up too much, but I think this is definitely something that we could see in the future. This is very realistic.
And then Julian, any thoughts on this trade?
I love it. I think I'm with Maxwell. Like, if you keep one of Holland or Asar, I think I love it more.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in all honesty, like, from a player perspective, I get it's roster spots or whatever, but, like, all you're really losing talent-wise, if I'm being honest, is Asar and Ron Holland. Like, that's about it. I don't think any of the other 3 players in this trade are, from a talent level alone, anywhere near what Devin Booker brings to the table. And I think the other thing is I think that Booker brings what Ivy was supposed to bring to the table as a running mate alongside Cade Cunningham. 29 doesn't really concern me with a guy like Booker. Maybe defensively a little bit, but I think, we're seeing guys in this league play till 36, 37, 38 and still be, feasible, especially some of these stars. And I think Stevens talked about it before. When you have a player as good as Cade Cunningham, you have to try and win with him as quickly as humanly possible because he's capable of doing it. And I think, again, it does. I am a bit worried about the depth being compromised a bit here. So, again, I would probably, remove either Holland or Asar just to preserve a little bit of depth. But in all reality, like, the two swaps don't really mean anything. Like, they're never going to be used. Detroit's going to be a perennial playoff team, and I don't think Phoenix through 2029 is going to be quite near that, especially after making this trade. And, again, if you keep Cade Cunningham for the next 5-6 years, Detroit's a perennial playoff team. You're not giving up lottery picks here, So I actually think, on paper it looks like a lot, but I do think for what you're getting in return, which is probably 4 or 5 years of Devin Booker alongside Cade Cunningham and a legitimate backcourt that can be at the top of the East, I think it's worth it. I really do. I might be crazy for thinking that, and I'm willing to, sit here in the corner and do one of these, as the crazy guy. But I really like this trade. I think I texted Steven when he sent it to me last night that I really like this trade for Detroit.
For what it's worth, like 2030, 2032 is so far out. Like Booker's contract ends, when did you say, Maxwell? 2029?
I think it's 29-30.
Yeah, so like
let me look.
That 2032 pick, especially, like you're betting on the Pistons, who typically aren't a successful franchise, being bad and that pick becoming valuable. Obviously, that's 7 years from now, though.
Right, but Cade Cunningham's still, what, 22, 23?
23, I would say.
Yeah, so that's when he's turning 30.
Yeah.
So he'll probably still be, at this rate, he's probably still going to be on the team,
Hey, real quick about that trade. Do you know in those years, this is so random, but do you know in those years with the swaps if the Suns own their pick or if those are years that they've sent their pick out?
So it would be I didn't do the 2029 swap because the Suns did not own a single pick in 29 to swap with. So they do have swaps, but like they're less favorable. So like basically Detroit would get whatever Phoenix has, the least favorable, with like 4 different other teams.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because Julian is right. It's like completely worthless. But if you get into this snafu of, now you're in the mix with 4 different teams and it's a fucking swap mess, pardon my language, maybe you could see something
They
there.
could move, let's say Detroit.
But that would be like the only way,
I was going to say, let's say Detroit picks 25, 26, and like the picks swap with like Cleveland or whatever, like maybe they could move up a couple spots. But like,
and then it goes right back to Julian's point.
So then let me do my other Detroit Pistons trade, because I do think the Pistons have like the ammo, the desire, like with how competitive they are, that they're the team most likely to make a big move, in my opinion. So here's my other Detroit trade. Let me zoom in again. You guys could see it okay?
Yeah. At least I can.
Okay. So Larry Markkinen and Kevin Love to Detroit for Tobias Harris is expiring. Jaden Ivey, we already talked about like the conundrum with having to pay him or not. Ron Holland, then 2 first and 2 swaps, 26 and 28 first and 27, 29 swaps. So all those 20, 30, basically when Markkinen's contract expires, Detroit will have all their picks still in 2030, 2031, 2032. My thinking was, again, Ivy just is not that valuable just because you don't know what he's going to ask for in restricted free agency. So Utah gets major cap relief, assuming they let Tobias Harris walk. That's $26.6 million off their books. Maybe that thing gives you enough money to pay Ivy a little bit, come to some type of deal. Then they have, let's say this happens at a deadline, 2.5 years around Holland before you have to pay him his rookie extension.
What? Why would they pay Ivy when they have 5 young guards?
Yeah, but they're not going to get. But
I was going to say, do we know how many of them are good though?
Keontae's good.
Keontae George is good at this point.
I mean, sorry. I'm just saying in general. I'm not saying that none of them are good because I also agree Keontae's good, and I even think there's been flashes from
Isaiah Collier.
But like other than that, why not? Like, you know what I mean? You need at least 2 to 3 yards.
For me, it would be Utah taking another bite at the apple, trying to solidify, who's a legitimate piece for them, and Ivy gives them another bite at that apple, and Holland obviously gives them another bite at that apple, and they get the cap relief and 2 firsts and 2 swaps.
See, I think if I'm Utah here, I'm asking for Asar instead of Ron Holland, to be honest.
Well, you could ask, but I
think like I really don't think there's much in this trade for Utah.
Okay.
It's the same thing that I mentioned with, especially, I think the swaps here, especially with how little Detroit's giving up, are essentially useless. They're 2 first-round picks, again, especially for 2026 and 2028, which is over the next 2-3 years, probably not going to be very good. And I think Holland's the only real piece of value in this trade. If you're the Jazz, maybe I'm a Jaden Ivey hater, and that's why I'm saying that. I have, you heard it from me when we were talking about him before, but you got to find your Goldilocks here, Steven. I think this one's just not enough.
Okay.
A little too much.
Corban, what are your thoughts on this?
I happen to think that Larry Markkinen does have the Goldilocks, so I like it. No, I'm playing. No, in general, I kind of, that was a bad one. I know. Take it back to the shop. I kind of agree with Julian. I guess I'm a little more open to it. I'm just seeing. I'm a little more open to it for Utah if you are, again, if you, let's say this past season hasn't happened and they're still in a rebuilding phase, which they definitely are, but I think they're trying to turn a corner. At least their play would seem to indicate that they are. And I feel like this might be more of a step back. Even though you are getting more draft picks, you are getting some younger talent. You have to make a decision on Jaden Ivey. Ron Holland, I think, is still developing, rotation level player for sure, but not I don't know. Still someone I don't think I'm if I'm Utah, I'm not oh yeah, that's my return. You know what I mean? And Tobias Harris is largely there for salary filler, right?
To be fair, Utah would have to pay if this trade happened, Jaden Ivey and Walker Kessler this offseason. And that's going to be a monumental. Yeah.
2 guys that you have very small sample size on, based off of how much. I mean, Walker Kessler you have more than Jaden Ivey, but one of those negotiations would be difficult, much less 2. So yeah, I'm leaning more Julian. I'm not as bad on the return, but I am with Julian in terms of probably not going for it.
Okay, Maxwell, any thoughts on this trade?
Yeah, I like this trade for Detroit. Getting Lowry in the fold. This is another player team fit I like. I think both of these player team fits you've had, Steven, for Detroit have been good. As far as the Jazz return, I kind of agree with a lot of what Julian and Corban said. The pick value is just a little questionable there. And I would definitely be asking for Asar as well in the trade. I'm actually, I had Jaden Ivey on my first on my big board years ago. And I've been an Ivy fan in the past, and obviously it hasn't really worked out in a variety of different ways and reasons, both on the court and off the court. But I do like this new fresh start for him in Utah. I think that would be something that'd be good for him. A place where no one is married to touches there, even Keontae George. There's a wide variety of people. Even Walter Clayton has had a lot of freedom early on this season to be able to make minimal mistakes, but really succeed as a rookie guard. So they have a lot going for them, and adding Ivy into that mix would be really interesting. I think Asar would kind of be that perfect piece to include kind of in the middle of that guard tandem that Utah has and some of those younger bigs they have. So I think he would kind of be a really interesting connective defensive piece. And I would be interested to see how Asar would grow there, playing alongside Walter Clayton, Keontae George, some younger guards who can run in space and like to play in transition. I'd like to see how he plays more in that type of style of offense compared to what he's played in Detroit. So I like this trade a lot.
Okay, so Corbin, do you want to hear next my Derek White, Domantas Sabonis, or Zion Williamson trade?
Let's do Domantas Sabonis. The Kings have been on my mind for a minute.
Okay. I had a suspicion that's what you would say.
Know me well.
Okay, so sharing my screen once again. How about a reunion? I could even Photoshop Domantas Sabonis in a Pacers jersey, you know.
Good.
So, Domantas Sabonis, can you guys see that?
Yes. Whoa, what is going on? Okay. Yeah, I can see it.
So,
Clear.
is it not clear?
It got
No,
clear.
he's saying it is clear.
Oh, okay. So, Domantas Sabonis and Jalen Wilson coming from the Nets to Indiana. So, basically, Sabonis is going back to Indiana, who now needs a big man with Miles Turner gone. The Kings get Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell, Benedict Mathurin, and Jarris Walker. And the Nets get Dario Saric and a 2032 second. A couple process sixes in here, Julian.
Yeah, there are.
10
But-
years later.
If you're a Kings fan, have you already been hurt enough, or does this one hurt you even more?
Whoa. No Jarris Walker shade, please.
I just
Sending Sabonis and getting Jarris Walker as the best piece is pretty tough.
yeah, that's
It
what
wasn't
I'm-
shade, but more of like that was where I was going.
I don't like this for Sacramento. Off the top, I know you didn't ask yet, but
No, cool.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
My thinking was, I just don't know how much value Sabonis has at $42 million for the next 3 years.
well, that's why I was interested in this trade because I'm
Yeah.
with you. I don't
Yeah.
see it either, but like if this is it, mind you, you get a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
You know, I think Benedict Mathurin has flashes, but don't you have to like extend him this offseason?
And you don't have to devalue yourself if you're the Kings because Sabonis doesn't have value.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's also a point that
Yeah.
needs to be made. Like the Kings are devaluing themselves in the trade because it's perceived that Sabonis doesn't have value.
Yeah.
You got McConnell for a bit, but like I don't know, like okay. You know, you also have Schroeder still in the contract for 3 more years. You have Devin Carter you have to figure out what to do with. You know what I mean? Like you got guards. You know, Russell Westbrook, at least for this season, you still have Benedict Mathurin is cool, except that's
You're going to have to pay him.
you have to pay him, and you're still not off the money from Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
You know, so you still have him there. And by the way, you have a little guy named, not little guy, he's not that little, but you have a guy named Keon Ellis who is going to get even further.
Who's also
buried.
going to get paid this summer.
Yes, but buried in the depth chart in terms of minutes playing at that guard spot, right? Between Levine and now Mathurin. And then Jarris Walker, he's fine. I mean, he's fine. I don't have he play. You start in Precious Achua, so he definitely play. But yeah, I don't know. Like you said, it's tough because I'm not happy with that return, but I don't expect the Kings to get that much better of one should they choose to move Sabonis this year because of what you said.
What I will say is, if this trade happened, the Pacers lose a lot of depth, obviously.
It's
But-
not helping them now.
Having, Tyrese Halliburton.
I'm being-
But I'm saying if they had Tyrese Halliburton and Domantas Sabonis, Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith as the starting 5, and then they're probably going to get a top 5 pick this year potentially for another great young rook. So like they could afford to give up the Mathurins and the Jarris Walkers of the world when they're getting another top 5 pick this upcoming season. They're 1-12 right now.
I will say it is pretty funny to reunite both
Sabonis and Halliburton.
in Sacramento. Or sorry, in Indiana. I think that would be very funny. I don't hate it as much as you guys do. maybe I'm higher on Benedict. Maybe I have some Benedict Mathurin and Jarris Walker bias sneaking in there a little bit,
But Mathurin with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine does, I admit, become an issue. But again, like if you're trading off Sabonis, there's probably a subsequent trade to happen with one of those guys anyway.
but to be honest, like
I just wouldn't say it's a given. That's the problem. I'm with you. Like logically, yes, you would try to, but I don't think it's a given. Only team that traded for him from Chicago was Sacramento, and of course Sacramento did that.
Yeah.
What? Only team I could see that would do that along the same line would be what? New Orleans. like, you know what I mean? There's a bunch of idiots out there, but not that many. You know.
I do think like Sacramento has, to be fair, done this themselves, but they put themselves in a tough position where they have so many untradeable assets on that roster right now. I do think like so. Here's the one. I'll frame it a different way for Sacramento here. You have 4 guys who could potentially be. Well, sorry, 3. I'm not going to include. I love TJ McConnell, but I'm not going to include him in this. We know what he is. You have 3 guys in Toppin, Mathurin, and Walker that could potentially, because they're younger, become more valuable trade pieces down the line. If things go well and maybe you could get something out of that. I think that's kind of like, again, maybe that's an optimistic approach, but like that's why I don't hate this trade as much, because the Kings are just in such a dire situation right now that I think like, let's take a chance on a few young guys for Sabonis and hope that a couple of them can like net us something in the future.
Yeah, it's the bites in the apple theory I said with Utah, really.
Yeah, but I think it's more bites in the apple than Utah was getting.
Yeah. Maxwell, anything to add?
Yeah, maybe the Nets can draft a 22-year-old or older college player that can play in the rotation with that second-round pick they get in 2032.
Maybe 2032 is currently what? 8th grader, 7th grader.
Maybe they'll maybe
Hey,
they'll use that
another
pick in a
point guard who
package
can't
to get
shoot.
Mohamed DeBone.
Hey, that 8th grader might play like 160 games at Belmont or something. Be putting up like 18 a game. You never know.
As we speak, he's averaging 8 points and 12 assists on 36% shooting from the field. So
Okay.
for Lamont Middle School.
Someone has an iPad who's putting advanced stats on a website for that kid.
Maxwell, do you want to hear next the Trey Murphy, the Zion Williamson, or the Derek White trade?
Oh, bring the Zion one on.
So here is my Zion Williamson trade. As
Literally Big
again,
Z.
Go New York, go New York, go. Is it New York?
How about New York of the South? I don't know. Like what? Not even. That's funny. Let's get it.
Okay. So Zion Williamson and Jordan Hawkins to the Charlotte Hornets. For Miles Bridges, Pat Connaughton, Tijan Salon, a 2027 Miami first, which I believe is lottery protected.
Did the Greensboro Swarm approve Tijan Salon getting sent in this?
Hey, Tijan Salon, I covered the Greensboro Swarm on Thursday. He had 26 points.
He'll keep doing it up there.
There you go. I just wanted to know.
I love the NBA Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Honestly, I know it's two firsts and a guy 1 year removed from being the 6th overall pick, but like
That was
the Miami first, I'm pretty sure is late because it's lottery protected. The 2029 first, I believe, is the least favorable of Utah, Cleveland, or Minnesota. So again, it's going to be a late first round pick most likely, unless all 3 of those teams are not good in 2029. Salon again, former 6th overall pick, a year removed from that. Connaughton's just salary filler to get some financial relief, and Miles Bridges. Like, is this what it came down to for Zion at this point? Like, value-wise?
You sold that so well. Yeah, 2 first-round picks and a guy who was drafted number 6 overall.
No, but I'm saying, like, that's what it is. But realistically,
it's agent talk. We're talking to an agent here.
That was such a lawyerly spin, Steven.
But admittedly, like, they're going to be 2 late first, and Salon, we have no idea what he is.
Oh, we have an idea. We have an idea.
We have an idea, but
I watched a lot of Charlotte's basketball. We definitely have an idea.
It's bites at the apple, Corbin. It's bites at the apple.
Okay.
So, like, but my question is, like, is this really what Zion's value is? Because, like, I couldn't really come up. I couldn't justify adding another first. I couldn't justify even putting, like, a Trey Mann. And maybe Trey Mann is, like, the missing piece. Maybe put him instead of Connaughton. But, like, again, like, what does that do? But that's what I'm saying. Like, am I grossly undervaluing Zion at this point?
Yes.
Cool, but he's played 30 games twice.
But when he plays, the guy at the same time, like the guys, I get it, availability, right? That's huge. Like we're asking, like the guy does not have a sky high field goal percentage, like he doesn't impact the game at least at all levels offensively. Like yes, injuries are a thing, but they even have that opt down as clause. If he was to be up, you know how many teams? Everybody would be like, oh, we gotta look at Zion because you say that, yes, and he is a huge injury risk, and yet, boom. Like I'm sorry, I know, like I definitely get what you mean. But I don't see two at rotation level 3 rotation players because Salon's in the rotation. The picks are nice, but no, I'm getting something. I'm going for the young guys. If I'm the Pelicans, like I'm bringing someone back. Like this is Zion. Like this isn't. He's going to play. Now, how many games he's going to play? That's the situation. But he's going to play, and he's going to impact the team when he does.
He's not an injury risk. He's a health liability, Corbin.
There you go with your twist. But I just like the impact on the floor is you can't deny that when he is on there. So I would be asking for something back if I'm new. Now probably New Orleans takes this and thinks they got the win. But
he's never on the floor.
Dude, listen, I'm not arguing he's on the floor.
We're on year 7. He's played 30 games twice.
How
all I'm saying, I'm with you on that. I'm again, injuries are a factor. The guy averages what 25, 7, and 5 on 57% from the field, and when
Salon averages 26 points in the G League.
That's the G League. We're talking about the actual NBA. I get you, and I'm not saying he should get a lot more than that, but you're not going to give me the scraps. I'm sorry. This isn't T-John Saloon. This isn't. I don't even know. What is a player?
No, Corbin. What is a player who doesn't play worth?
At $40 million a year.
I wouldn't say doesn't play. I would say doesn't play a lot, right? Like
he doesn't play. He's never. How many times has he played more than half a
30,
season?
What? Twice. 61 and 70. Then he had 30 and 29 and 24.
And he missed a full season.
And he missed a full season.
Like, come on, man.
I'm sorry. I'll stand alone on this, and I'll stand alone on this. I'll be fine. This isn't Gabe Vincent. I feel like people would agree with me. Like, I'm not. This isn't a crazy stand. I'm just saying.
No.
I'm not saying he's worth the farm. I'm just saying it's not scraps. That's all I'm saying.
He's not. Why is he worth more than? What has he done to prove he's worth more than scraps?
He dang near when he on his healthy team. Of course, he gets injured in the play-in. Got the New Orleans Pelicans, which real decent team. Like they were among the better teams in Western Conference. I'm just saying, without him, they're not. With him, they have a fighting chance. Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but like, no, stop it. It's
like I'm sorry. The guy.
How much are you trading for Ben Simmons then?
Huh?
How much are you trading for Ben Simmons?
Well, what year Ben Simmons are we talking about? Because you have to.
Any year after 2019.
No,
it's the same principle.
You're not. No, that is
yes,
not.
Because
when Ben Simmons was washed when he played. After 2019, when Ben Simmons played, he might as well not have played. It didn't matter. The impact on the floor wasn't there.
Ben Simmons lost his confidence, his ability to play basketball. Zion hasn't lost his confidence. So there's no Zion's very comfortable playing basketball in the NBA.
He'll get. Listen, you're going to get a hell of a 25 games when he does play. Is what I'm trying to say. With Ben Simmons after 2019, on the floor, off the floor, you didn't know. You didn't see the difference.
Yeah, the availability is tough, but I'm gonna agree with Corbin. Like I think Zion would fetch at least multiple for 2 first-round picks in the open market at least.
That is 2 first-round picks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, and change. I mean, we're talking about like a guy that's easily a top 30 player when he's playing. Easily.
Oh, I guess Miles Bridges is decent, but I'm just not giving me your failed 6 pick and a journeyman forward. I'm sorry.
Because I mean,
that's what I'm not doing.
I think like the better comparison for like a Zion trade would be just any other player who's just unavailable. It's like obviously it's not ideal that you're trading for a player that you're probably going to see half the season, but like if you can properly load manage him and not play him on back-to-backs and do what Philly's doing now at this age with Zion, and he's fully healthy for the playoffs on a legitimate franchise that's not the Gail Benson-owned Pelicans, for Christ's sakes, literally one of the biggest pieces of trash franchises in the league that half the people in that front office are trying to relocate it and not even talk about. I mean, Gail Benson is one of the most dysfunctional owners. I mean, even outside of the Pelicans, the Saints are a whole nother mess. But no one's been successful there. Nobody has been successful for that franchise, so I'm not I'm not trying to make excuses for Zion, But like if he went to any NBA franchise that had any semblance of, connectivity from top to bottom in their organization, I think he would probably fare a lot better off, and he'd probably play a little bit more better games. It reminds me I'm an Arizona kid, like the Phoenix Suns of the old 2000s days. They would get older guys into with that medical staff and with that front office, and they would just revive their careers, because there was a plan, there's connectivity. I can imagine if Zion went somewhere like Boston or franchises that have displayed, that ability, what it would do to his career. So, I just don't know if the Hornets are that team.
I was just going to say, like, we're not talking about Boston or Lakers or like the Miami Heat. We're talking about the Charlotte Hornets doing this.
Exactly. And that's
so, like, I do think actually, like, honestly, why are they giving up Jordan Hawkins in this trade is probably my biggest question. I think, like,
So I mean, it's new. It's a new front office that didn't draft Jordan Hawkins, so those guys are always susceptible to being moved at that point.
Can I say this about Jordan Hawkins? Out of all the players we've discussed in all the trades, he's the player that I know his value the least league-wide. Like, I have no idea the pulse of his value, because I guarantee you some people in the league and front offices are still buying into that 20-year-old at UConn, even like early Pelicans, a lot of movement shooting, Willie Green, Disciple. And now, like, there's a lot of things that have changed, in his career, both on court and off the court. And so I'd be interested to see what the teams around the league hold his value at.
He's just a shooter who can't shoot. Like, I mean, 36% his first year, 33 the second, 26 right now. Like, that's Ja Morant from three numbers, across 11 games. At
the end of the day, though, like, maybe you throw another small piece in there, but I don't think this is like that outlandish for a guy who averages 25 games a year.
I guess I'm arguing the quality over quantity part of it. So I'm with you there. Like, Zion comes in and is almost immediately your best player. 20 games.
He's got to play.
Yeah, but I'm saying when he does, and I agree with you. But I'm just saying you're not getting. It's like trading Joel Embiid like 2-3 years ago. Like, it's not like he's injury prone. He's never going to make it to the postseason healthy. But when he plays, the guy is one of the better players. Like, he comes up there, and it's an argument immediately between if it's him or LaMelo Ball is the best player in the Charlotte Hornets. And yes, the bar is low over there. But you're not trading for a guy usually who's an injury risk. It's not Robert Williams. No disrespect to him. Like, Robert Williams is a great piece who's going to be injured. But if he plays, he's a great piece. Zion Williamson, that's another echelon. If we're talking about the injury-riddled guys, I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's like a benchmark.
No, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
From the top.
The operative point that Julian made, and I think that goes with this trade, is that Zion Williamson's getting sent to the Charlotte Hornets in this trade. Let's, point made,
100%.
Yeah, because that's at the end of the day, like, there are not many teams that could argue they're worse than as a franchise than the New Orleans Pelicans, but
Charlotte can make that I humbly submit my bid.
That new ownership, I will say, new ownership group. There's a lot of positive things happening there, but
Charles Lee's solid.
There's a lot. It's a lot of history there, man.
For what it's worth, Robert Williams has played 4 games of 31 or more games. Zion's played 2. Anyway,
Robert, how long? Robert's been in there longer than league. Than Zion, or has he been there at the same time?
I believe Robert Williams probably has a year or 2. I would say.
Those years do matters, but I'll give you that.
Anyway, Julian, do you want to hear my Derek White, my Trey Murphy, or my Trey Young trade?
Can we Trey Young?
Okay.
My least favorite player probably on this entire list.
Okay, so this is a 3-teamer where, like, it wasn't like the Nets 2-teamer where, like, they were just doing it for salary. This is a real 3-teamer. This is a real 3-teamer.
Big man 3-teamer.
Uh-oh.
Dalen Terry
catching strays being a salary fill-in. Though Dalen Terry's been okay. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Anyway. Trae Young and Dalen Terry head to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Julius Randle and Mike Conley head to Chicago. The Atlanta Hawks get Zach Collins expiring. Kobe White's expiring, though I'm sure they would want to, negotiate with him this offseason. Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon, Leonard Miller. 2026 first from Portland that Chicago's throwing in. 2 swaps from Minnesota, 2028 and 2032, and 2 second-round picks.
You know what's odd? I actually think I feel like the Bulls would do this. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bulls did something like this.
Like, the Bulls have shown that they're competitive enough this year that, like, and they did it without Kobe White. That, like, oh yeah, we don't want to pay Kobe worth $30 million. Let's go get Julius Randle and add him to the fold instead.
I don't know the Julius Randle pieces-wise fit, but from a Chicago Bulls MO perspective, it's a very Chicago Bulls trade. Oh man, I would assume that Anthony Edwards is going to hate playing next to Trae Young. He's going to hate it. On both ends of the ball. I think it could work though. Yeah, man. I mean, you're not giving up too much if you're Minnesota here. I don't think. Like, there's a little bit of draft capital, and
it's a buy low on Trae Young, who is going to want to get a massive contract after this year, while Minnesota's already a borderline second apron team.
I actually think that like the biggest piece that they're giving up in this trade is Terrence Shannon Jr. Ironically enough.
I still think Julius Randle is a hell of a player.
I meant to. Sorry, I was looking
non-Randle
bracket.
Yeah.
I meant to the Hawks.
Yeah.
Like the biggest piece that they're giving to the Hawks. They're also they're giving Randle to the.
I just think Atlanta's having so much success with Trae Young out right now, with Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels splitting ball handling duties, and them having Ricochet and Kristaps is shooting. Like Kobe White, I feel like is almost the perfect guard to throw in there with them. He's like a guard that provides off-ball shooting and does need the ball, where he lets Jalen Johnson and Dyson. He could be like the secondary ball handler type at the point guard position. And I feel like Dillingham could do the same.
Well, it's funny because like when we were talking preseason about our what's it called? Like conference previews, I actually said that I think the Hawks are probably a better team if Trae Young's not there. So again, for the Hawks, I love this trade. I don't really know what Minnesota thinks they're doing with Trae Young, to be honest with you. Maybe that's because I don't think he's a particularly good asset or star unless you're like heliocentrically built around him, which they're not. They've got Anthony Edwards. But for the other two teams, I like it a lot. I just like sell me on why Minnesota wants Trae Young.
Minnesota's getting Trae Young for probably substantially less than what his value is. They're not giving up Jalen McDaniels.
Well,
they're not giving up Najee. They're not giving up DiVincenzo.
Ignore the value for a second. Like, why would Minnesota want to play Trae Young with Anthony Edwards?
Because they need the ball handling and passing ability that he provides.
They secretly hate him.
Like they'll play DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards as the main two playmakers.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like there's like, significantly cheaper options who can do a lot more and have a lot less of the flaws that Trae Young has. Like if you're gonna go for a guard, like here's one De'Aaron Fox, like hypothetically. Like, it's not much better, but I think it's a better option than Trae Young.
If you're trying to find a guy who doesn't necessarily fit with Ja, I mean, not with Ja, but with Anthony Edwards, I would probably go for Ja. You could probably get him pretty low right now. Like, you have just the only difference I think is Ja's worse on offense than Trae, at least because you don't have the floor spacing ability Trae does provide. But defensively, like, now you have even more of a cover you have to do because at least Dante can guard the point of attack relatively well, where Trae Young is easily one of the worst guard defenders out there, and you lose Mike Conley, who, like, yes, at this point is more important for what he brings off the court than on it, but you're about to lose him entirely for that. Now, the young guys, I like the trade, I guess, outside of, I don't like it at all for Minnesota. For the other two teams, I think it's pretty solid. I think Chicago takes another little step up, and I like it for the Hawks for sure. Although very few of the young guys for Minnesota has just done enough right now, but like maybe they will in a change of scenery, right? But I can't swing it for why Minnesota would do it. Other than like they need a point guard, which like yes, sure, but as Julian said, I just think there's other ways to get one that you don't have to give the farm for a guy who still isn't a perfect fit for this team.
Okay, Maxwell, as thou resident Minnesota Timberwolves aficionado
and Trae Young believer.
I mean, I think Trae Young's value is probably lower than all of you guys. I mean, I don't think Chris Finch would trade a first-round pick for him straight up 1-for-1 because he can't play defense. And the one thing that Chris Finch values is defense. Hence the reason why Rob Dillingham has had all the problems that he's had seeing the court. It's not offensively. If you're not a ball mover, if you are a ball stopper and you cannot play defense, you cannot play for Chris Finch. It's as simple as that. And that would be Trae Young's first problem going to Minnesota, is that he probably is going to one of the worst coach-player fits possible. But I think, just on top of that, Minnesota doesn't need that type of offense. I think the way that they've been trying to attack with Ant and Dante sharing the point guard role has been really good for players like Terrence Shannon, who I like Julian shouted out. He is the most valuable player in that Atlanta Hawks package coming from Minnesota. He's a very good young player, or younger, 25. But you guys, you get my point. I think for Minnesota to send 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of your rotation for a guy that wouldn't start over Dante DiVincenzo in playoff games because teams would just be attacking him and you'd get Ant dead tired by the time the fourth quarter rolled around because he'd be chasing defensive mistakes, I mean, Ant and Jane would just have to cover up so much for that. And I think that's why Mike Conley's been benched primarily, is so that Ant and Jaden don't have to cover up for all of Mike Conley's shortcomings on defense. So I think, you'd be kind of bringing yourself back to the original problem. I mean, this is just like Timberwolves X's and O's on it, but I think you'd just be bringing yourself back to the original problem you had with starting Mike Conley as your point guard. It wasn't necessarily offensively, but it was more defensively what it did to your surrounding players, especially Ant and Jaden, who we rely so heavily upon defensively. I think for the Hawks, it's a great trade. I mean, I think you guys hit it on the head. They're better without Trae Young, and I agree with that as well. I think Kobe White's one of the most underrated players in the NBA. I feel like he's been one of the most underrated players in the NBA for a couple years now. I feel like Billy Donovan's like screaming at a mountaintop, trying to get everyone to understand how good this guy is, and people still won't listen. I would be really intrigued to see him with a team like the Hawks, where he has a lot more freedom, especially defensively. He's so relied upon as a point of attack of the Bulls, where with the Hawks, you have so much behind you. I couldn't even imagine him picking up full court, and not worrying about getting beat. That's just the type of attack that, it makes you really powerful as a point of attack defender, as a guard. So I like this for the Hawks. And if you're the Bulls, I don't really like getting off Kobe White, but if you're bringing back Julius Randle and Mike Conley and putting those two vets around the young players there, Vucevic and Randle would be a problem in the Eastern Conference, and Vuce is having a pretty good season. So that would be good for the Bulls. Obviously, you lose White, but Giddey's had a good season, and there's still some guards that can set the table for you in Chicago. So I like it. I'm kind of with you guys. I like it for both the teams. I just don't like it for Minnesota. But I mean, I would also say I wouldn't like any team trading for Trae Young, probably, just because that's like not really my cup of tea. If you can't play defense, I'm not a fan. So that's usually how I roll.
So let's go to another Chicago Bulls trade. Obviously, they're getting Julius Randle and that Trae Young 3-teamer. Here is Anthony Davis going to his hometown Chicago.
Oh, I love this.
Whoa.
I love this trade, Steven.
So we have Anthony Davis, Dwight Powell, and Dante Exum going to Chicago for expiring salaries. Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Kobe White, who obviously I think Dallas would want to keep alongside Kyrie Irving, or even as Kyrie's replacement if a subsequent trade
They could play together for sure.
And they get Noah Senge, who was Chicago's 11th pick in the draft. They're getting that Portland 2026 versus lottery protected, so it may or may not convey this year, given how Portland does. But I think Portland's going to be a playoff team, but again, the West is incredibly difficult. Chicago gives Dallas 2 swaps in 26 this year, which Dallas is 3-9, so I doubt they end up being worse than them, Chicago, even especially if they get AD. but a swap in 28th and 2 firsts in 27 and 29. So Dallas basically resets the books, getting off all that money, but probably whatever you shed in Collins and Kevin Herter's expiring, you're probably going to have to pay Kobe White close to $30 million a year next year. So getting Kobe White, really, Senge, and those picks for Anthony Davis, the Bulls would, given the early success they've had this year, okay, look, we're bringing in the hometown guy. Not only are they going to sell tickets, but now they could be competitive in what's perceived a weak East. Silence.
I like it. I was waiting to see if anyone else wanted to chime in.
I have no pushback on it. Yeah, I think it's a good trade.
I love it. Yeah, I think this is. I'll say a couple things. I think it's phenomenal for the Bulls. I just have a piece about getting off of Kobe White and how it's not ideal. But if you're the Bulls here and you're getting Anthony Davis, Dwight Powell, and Dante Exum, and Powell's probably not cracking the rotation at this point, but if you could play Dante coming off the bench in limited minutes and Anthony Davis, add that to the roster, and you're only really losing 2.5 rotation pieces for it and some picks, I think it's worth it. You're making the push. Now, there's kind of my philosophy is if you can't, if you're not contending, you should always rebuild until you have, the pieces that you believe could be, your 1, 2, and 3 for contention, or your 1 and your 2 at least. Now, if the Bulls believe that they have that, I think this makes the trade better. But I question the Bulls' motives with their front office and kind of their direction. But if they think they're going to compete and contend, I like this trade a lot. And the East is a lot more wide open than we probably originally thought heading into the season. So I think it's a good fit for both sides.
Yeah, I love the value Dallas is getting back here too. More bites at the apple.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, I do really think Senge would benefit from being in Dallas a lot. I also think Kobe White probably plays starting point guard for the entire season this year if they make this trade tomorrow. I'm not thrilled with what D'Angelo Russell is doing over there, plus the draft compensation. I think again, swaps are what they are. Maybe you get a couple spots out of them one of the years if you get lucky and Dallas plays well with Kyrie, but I like this value, man.
Imagine 27 Anthony Davis in 2027. That's 2 years, or that's, I guess, next year's pick. Imagine Anthony Davis has only played 14 games for Dallas this far, being injured all next year, and that Chicago pick end up being a top, 10-12 pick.
Yeah, there's some upside. Yeah. There's some upside with a swap with the Chicago Bulls. I'm not going to lie. There's the Chicago Bulls at this point, which used to mean a lot more than it does today. But I do like it for the Bulls too, though. I think, you've got a really fun, although I guess I was going to say front court, but Giddey's a guard-ish. What the hell do you call Josh Giddey these days? Whatever. You still have, you got a front court of Vooch, Matas, and Anthony Davis. I think that's fine. You still got Io. You're not losing that much depth-wise. Like Maxwell said, you're not giving up a ton of rotation pieces, and I think it makes the Bulls at least semi-contenders, depending on how healthy Anthony Davis is, potentially actual, contenders to get to the conference finals. Not favored, but
yeah,
it's a possibility.
Corban, anything to add?
Oh, no, I think you set up Dallas for success moving forward with a nice bit of, competent players now, but players for the future. Obviously, most notably Kobe White. Noah Senge is a great prospect to have. You can really begin what Dallas should be doing, which is moving on, right? You do lose, longest tenured player, I think, for an NBA team as of now, is Dwight Powell, with Udonis Haslem going. So you do lose that little bit of history. But other than that, Anthony Davis gets to go home, right? You get off that contract. That trade should never happen in the first place. You really proverbially turn the page on that by bringing in Kobe White. You make Kyrie Irving expendable. Take your time to rehab. We'll find a place for you next year. I think this is literally I don't want to say perfect trade, but it's close to one as you can get, and a plethora of draft picks. Come on now.
So do you guys remember when the Magic traded Nikola Vucevic to the Bulls, and then one of those picks ended up becoming Franz Wagner?
Indeed.
I could see that happening. Oh, yeah.
Similar thing, like you guys are saying, could happen with this one.
So
That would be very Bullsian.
It would be.
Bullsian, is that new? Can we call that? Can we make that a new?
That's a good phrase. That's a good. I like that. To be fair, they also drafted Jet Howard with one of the other picks. I think it was Jet Howard. It was one of the other picks that ended up going back
one
in
for
the-
two.
Maybe it was Anthony Black, but
no, it was Jet Howard.
was it? Okay.
Jet Howard, I'm pretty sure. Maxwell. We have 3 trades left.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear Derek White, Trey Murphy, or Giannis? If you don't pick Giannis, I think we should save Giannis for last.
Let's save Giannis for last.
Okay.
Let's do hit me with the Trey Murphy.
Okay.
No one likes Derek White.
So we have.
I don't want to hear Derek White get traded.
Oh my! Wait, you switched up the font.
I love it.
Hell.
Ooh.
It's faint. This one's Spo track. The other ones were faint Spo.
This brings up a lot of interesting conversations.
So I initially had Nikola Topic. I structured the trade a couple weeks ago before it was announced Topic had his testicular cancer diagnosis.
Damn,
so
sorry.
So obviously I was like, okay, well, he's just not. No one's going to trade for him. He's not going to be what. He's just whatever right now.
That was your thought, not man. I'm sorry, he has cancer.
I'm saying for purposes of this trade.
Damn, that value dropped.
Okay. So that's why I ended up putting Case and Wallace in the trade. It seems like a lot for Trey Murphy, but like when I'm looking at OKC, I'm like, okay, how could OKC like possibly get better? Like the way they run their system, like trading for Giannis, like yeah, they could do that. They have the assets to do it, but like with Chet and J-Dub and SGA, like I just even Hardenstein, like I just don't think OKC is a good thing going. If it's not broke, don't fix it. They might be the next dynasty. So I'm like, what trade could they make that actually makes sense? And Trey Murphy's one of those few guys I think actually makes sense for them. So I do have it maybe as a slight overpay, but I'm a huge Trey Murphy guy. As Maxwell said, like the Pelicans not great at developing guys. Like imagine he just explodes on OKC as the fourth fiddle. I could see that. Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins are both great rotation players locked up for 2 or 3 more years each after this year. Cason Wallace is phenomenal. Like he could be 6th man of the year, and he's on a rookie contract still. And they're getting 2 first-round picks. The Spurs in 27 likely will be somewhere not in the lottery because they will be a playoff team. And Houston's pick this year. So the 2 late first, but again, Cason Wallace rookie deal on 2 very high-level rotation players that might be even able to play larger roles for the Pelicans and playing for the Thunder just because of the depth. And then Trey Murphy and Jordan Hawkins go to the Pelicans.
Honestly, if I'm the Pelicans, I want a better with all the picks that the Thunder have in 26. I want a better 26 pick than Houston's, like a much better one. Like
so let's say that's the Sixers pick.
That's not much better. We're good right now.
Right now,
we're probably going to be like in all honesty, the Sixers are like probably at the very worst of playing team. The way that they're playing.
And Houston might be the 2 seed in the West, so that might be a difference of 10 picks better.
Right. I would like a team that's like probably not going to make the playoffs.
They have Utah's top 8 protected, but then again, like that, you're going to give like a prime pick?
Then you won't. Yeah, then it won't even convey. That'll be a problem there.
It won't convey.
Yeah,
but I think if like for Trey Murphy, I think you have to give up something better than like 2 rotation players, Case and Wallace, and a couple of bad picks. Especially with, I think this is like a situation where the Thunder's excessive draft capital hurts them a bit.
What about the Clippers first in 2027? It's next year, but it's again, if Kawhi has to get his contract voided or whatever, this Clippers are a disaster right now with Kawhi not even playing.
I think the Pelicans are already making out with highway robbery here. even with the picks. I mean, Case and Wallace might be a better prospect than Trey Murphy, just straight up. I mean, he's a couple offensive developments away from being a better player than Trey Murphy. Just straight up, he's a top 10 defender in the NBA. He's a better defender than Trey Murphy right now.
Yeah.
And like, if he wasn't on the Thunder, I couldn't imagine the offensive leaps that he would have already taken with the amount of ball reps. So like, I genuinely, I would rather invest in Case and Wallace over Trey Murphy, just 1-for-1 personally, because of what I've seen defensively at such a young age, plus the secondary offense. Like, he's a couple offensive leaps away. Like, I think you could take out one of those first, and this would probably be a fair trade because you're getting two of the best value, rotation players. I mean, Aaron Wiggins is a starter in the NBA. Let's be clear. Like, he's good enough to easily start for half of the NBA, including most playoff teams. Isaiah Joe is, a really good shooter off the bench, but between Wiggins and Wallace, I mean, you're trading for two starters, for Trey Murphy, who's also going to be a starter. And I would personally rather have Case and Wallace for long-term over Trey Murphy. So maybe I'm on an island there, but I think what Case and Wallace could potentially turn into in the future is something that we don't know yet. And I'm really interested to see if the Thunder don't choose to pay him or can't find a way to pay him where he ends up, because he's a guy that could be most improved. And really, he's just a couple offensive, leaps away from becoming a whole different tier of player, in my opinion.
I can understand that. I just personally think with all of the stuff that the Thunder have, given that they're, a potential championship dynasty, I think if you're the Pelicans, you should try and leverage a little bit more here.
I agree. I think I agree with you that the Pelicans should try to leverage more, because it's just, it's just good business. That's, you should always try and leverage more, especially if you're getting rid of the one asset that you can actually count on that's on your team that is proven multiple times in high leverage games and just in Tuesday, back-to-back regular season games that is going to show up.
Yeah, and I think you could get more from. I think with the amount of draft capital OKC has, I think you could get more. I think they'd be willing to slightly overpay for a guy like Trey Murphy.
I agree. My point is more of, I just think it is an overpay, and I think Case and Wallace might be a lot better than we think. But Julian does make a good point too. If you're the richest person on the lot, you're always willing to overspend, because you're probably still going to be the richest person on the lot after you spent. So I like this a lot. Trey Murphy to the Thunders. It's basketball poetry.
I just don't know who else OKC would really be trading for.
I think it's a phenomenal fit, Steven. I'm curious how it would work out and what OKC would be willing to part with, because I think they're going to part with Kaysen because they're not going to be able to pay him, and I think he's going to fetch legitimate money on the open market.
Yeah, Corban,
like 25 plus.
Corban,
Easy.
any thoughts?
Kind of just mirroring what everyone else already said. Like, I would like to see where Case and Wallace would be if he doesn't stay with OKC. I don't know if it'd be New Orleans, and like you said, like, I see why you made the trade. Like, I don't disagree in theory, but like, yeah, I think you are arguably, and it's kind of funny that we're at the spot. I mean, Jordan Hawkins is strictly add on to these boo the fool right now, but like, you sorry, but like, you are. It's crazy how deep OKC is that you're arguably trading away the better player in the trade, and you're getting back Trey Murphy, who isn't like a scrub. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so then we have Derek White trade, and then we'll get into my Giannis scenario before we wrap up.
Can we boo Derek White?
So, why? Because he's a Celtic?
Just because he's Derek White.
Oh, well, in this scenario, he's not a Celtic anymore.
Just boo him. Come on. Yeah.
Okay, so we have another 3-teamer here. And my thinking was, if Boston's going to do a trade, like trading Derek White, they're going to find a way to get out of the tax this year. That's why they tore it down almost to the studs this year to get out of the tax, and they're still not out of it. So this trade saves them over $12 million. Houston gets Derek White and Terrence Mann. Boston gets Fred VanVleet, who we know is currently out for the year, so his timeline matches up with Jason Tatum, unfortunately for them. Reed Shepherd, who I was kind of hesitant to put in the deal, But then I was saying about Tari Eason, same thing, 1 year expiring. He's going to be a restricted free agent. He's just like every other guy we talked about, like Jaden Ivey, like Benedict Mathurin. Like he's going to, like Kobe White, he's going to want to get paid. So I don't know how much Boston would value him, which is why I put Reed Shepherd in it. So it's Van Vliet, Reed Shepherd, Tari, Jay Sean Tate, 2027 Phoenix first, which is going to be a very good pick. 2028 Houston first. And then seems like an overpay, but Boston's basically paying we're getting out of the tax. They're paying the tax to get out of the tax, basically. Then Brooklyn gets Anthony Simons and 2 seconds for taking the $12 million in salary. And Brooklyn's going to get an expiring contract for a guy who's 3 more years on his deal. So they shed that money more quickly as well. Corbin, what are your thoughts on this deal before we get into Julian and Maxwell?
Like,
is this an overpay for Derek White? Let me start with that.
So my value of Derek White's not as high as Benny, so I'm gonna say yes, just off the top. Like, I'm not like Derek White. I think is a fine player. I think the team success that Boston's had, and he's been great in that, has kind of overinflated his value.
Okay.
So yes, just off of that, I will say that. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Like, and I mean, even continue to explain it because I like Simons in Brooklyn. I mean, I don't know. I just like I think they always gonna have that kind. He'll be the legacy continuing of a shoot first, defense last guard. In the spirit of Cam Thomas once he leaves.
Brooklyn's not trying to win. They're just getting the expiring contract and getting the picks for taking the expiring contract to help Boston get out of the tax.
Oh, I know. I'm being fine. I'm saying while he is in Brooklyn, he'll continue
I get it.
Cam Thomas legacy. Continue.
So let me ask, if instead of that Phoenix 27 first, let's say it was a Houston first or something, like is that closer to the value for Derek White? Because Phoenix might be a top 5 pick for all the way down.
Yeah, I think Tari Eason and the Phoenix first are probably a little too much for me. In this regard, like I know Eason's on the expiring. I think he's a really good rotation piece for them. I don't think Derek White.
If you're Boston, how much are you going to be willing to pay Tari Eason? Because he's going to want $20 million plus, probably, just like the rest of them.
It's to me, it's less about like, what Boston's willing to pay Tari Eason. It's more about like what Houston's giving up a good rotation player here. I don't know. I think the amount of upgrade that Derek White is at the point guard spot, I don't think warrants this much of a package.
I'm just thinking him and Amin Thompson defensively alongside Kevin Durant and Şengün and Jabari Smith. Like right now it's like Houston is probably the second, if not third fiddle in the West to OKC. I think this trade could put them on the same level as OKC.
I don't think it does.
I think so.
I don't think it does, and I think that it affects them too much down the line for me.
Okay.
That's my I don't know. I'm curious what Maxwell says about it, but like that's where I'm at. I don't think you're getting that much closer to OKC with this trade, and I think you're giving up too much for not enough margin of,
I don't know. I think Houston is not neck and neck with it, but I think this makes them. I think they have a shot at beating OKC in a 7-game series. Adding Derek White to Amin Thompson, Kevin Durant, Jabari, Şengün, Steven Adams. DFS still hasn't played a game for them yet. So, Maxwell, what's your thoughts on this trade?
I kind of agree with Julian. Like, my question is like how close. A couple questions like how close does it get you to OKC? Like, I think the biggest issue, or the furthest gap that the Rockets maintain from Oklahoma City right now is their offensive solutions. I mean, we've seen them go to double big, and the problem is that the Thunder have answers to every offense that they can throw at them, especially without Fred VanVleet right now. And, bringing Derek White in, it really bolsters you defensively, and maybe you could win that series defensively. But given how, it's literally all time right now, Oklahoma City's defense and how well it's performing, I don't know if you can beat them defensively in a 7-game series. So if I was Houston, I would probably look. I like this trade. I like Derek White's fit in Houston, but I don't like it if you're trading away Fred VanVleet and Reed Shepherd both together, because those are players that, one, is proven in being able to set the table, offer you solutions on offense. He's able to play off the ball, play on the ball, and defensively, when he needs to play, he can be average. And Reed Shepherd is a growing player who fits all of the same traits, I would say. You lose those two guys for Derek White, who's probably going to be more inconsistent than Reed Shepherd in 500 days' time offensively. That would probably be my contention there. So it's one of those things, like, I like Derek White to Houston. I just don't like it for the offensive solutions that Houston is giving up, because I think that's what they need to kind of solve most in catching Oklahoma City. And but let me also say this. I think for the other teams in the West, this significantly helps Houston. This helps them a lot against a team like Denver. This helps them a lot against a team like Minnesota, who's got multiple attacking guards, and a power forward who initiates a lot of offense in Julius Randle. So I think this helps them against the Spurs a lot as well, because A, the Spurs don't get Derek White, but B, I think Derek White is the exact type of player that would be really strong for the Rockets to have with Amen on the floor together, having those players together to be able to try and defend Wembanyama with Şengün, with Adams. So I like Derek White to Houston. I just don't like what Houston's giving up. And then for Boston, obviously, I really like it. For the Nets, obviously, you're playing the third team role. But my question is for Simons. I wonder, what that does for Saraf and for some of the other guards who you want the ball in their hand. Like, do you just bring Simons off the bench and just resolve him to that?
I mean, Simons, depending when trade happens, he could be flipped prior to the deadline. Like, if this is a trade deadline, yeah.
I also don't think that, like, you're not having Simons for long enough for it to be an impact. Like, Brooklyn's not going to be good.
That's a good point too. That's a good point too. Yeah, you're not going to have him for the next what? I mean, he is expiring this year or next year.
He's expiring this year. So if it's at the deadline, you have him for what, 30 games?
Yeah, so you're chilling.
I will say, like, before we, like, I don't want to make it sound like I don't think that Derek White fits in Houston, because I agree with Maxwell on that front. I wouldn't give up this much.
Yeah. So Reed Shepherd was kind of how in the Booker trade, I was like, do I want to throw a Saul Thompson in here or not? Or is that too much of an overpay? That's how I was with Reed Shepherd on this one.
I also wouldn't throw in the Phoenix first. I'd throw a different first their way, especially because Houston has so many. Like if this trade is like Tardis and Fred VanVleet, Jason Tate, like a mid-round first pick and a 2028 first, I don't hate it. Yeah.
So then
I agree.
So then we have one more trade, and it's Giannis. So this was the most difficult one to value, because, like, obviously, like, it's Giannis, and the team I'm trading him to, let me pull it up here, doesn't have, the draft capital to make it work. Suns. No.
The Suns.
Go New York, go New York, go.
So we have...
Whoa, blurry.
We have...
Did you trade all three Antetokounmpos?
All three Antetokounmpos are getting to New York.
Law and ethics. Now
I love this trade.
I would have traded Kostas too if you were on the Bucks. So I'm trading Giannis Antetokounmpo, Thanasis Antetokounmpo, and Alex Antetokounmpo to the Knicks.
I'm sorry, I can't get over it. It's too funny.
I'm laughing at Bakome Dadier going to the French Quarter. This is a while. I love this trade. I love this. I love so many little pieces of this trade.
So I was thinking this has to be a 3-team trade because the Knicks don't have the picks to get Giannis. So I think automatically the Pelicans are going to be called and Portland's going to be called because they have the Bucks' future picks from the Jrue Holiday, from the Dame trade. So I thought, okay, which of those teams, Portland, who has a good thing going, or the Pelicans are more likely to give the Bucks their trade back. So I went with the team that traded 2 top 5 picks in this year and their own in Indiana's first to also give the Bucks their pick back in the Giannis trade. The Pelicans.
Can you zoom in a little? I cannot read the picks.
Yeah. So can I zoom in further? Oh no.
Yeah.
Hold on. I can if it cooperates with me. So here's the Knicks.
Okay. The Antetokounmpos. Okay.
Here's the Pelicans, Bridges and Dadier, Mikal Bridges. The Bucks, can you see that?
Yeah.
So the Bucks are getting Jordan Poole. They're getting Josh Hart. And like the Bucks still can't really bottom out. They are getting their own 2027 first back from the Pelicans.
That's a Washington pick that's coming their way.
What is it?
That's a Washington 2026 first.
Yes, but I believe it's top 8 protected. Okay. So it likely to, it's all the Knicks really have. So it's not going to convey Washington's whatever. They're going to be bottom 8. I don't know the protections on it after this year. That I could look up real quick. But it's basically a Washington pick that if Washington ends up 9 or 10 somehow in the lottery, they get it. But that's not likely to happen. They get a swap with the Knicks in 26, 28, 2030, and 2032. They get a bunch of seconds, and they get their own first back. Again, for Miles McBride, Deuce McBride, Yabusele, both on decent contracts. Josh Hart and Jordan Poole, you would hope to be able to flip, or they could help the Bucks be somewhat competitive, given the Bucks only have the 2027 first and not a whole lot else. This one was difficult for me to come up with because I think if Giannis asks out, he's going to say, "Oh, I want to go to the Knicks. I want to go to here. I want to go there." If it's the Knicks, this is what you're looking at. Maybe if you keep Mikal Bridges on Milwaukee, but then they're not getting their pick back. Like, I was trying to get Milwaukee one of their picks back if they're trading Giannis. So sacrificing Mikal Bridges was the way to do it in here.
I mean, realistically, this is probably the best you're going to get for Giannis.
I mean, unless OKC or Houston or San Antonio want to pony up all their picks.
Yeah, so I was going to – if you're trading him to a team that isn't, like, loaded with every pick for the next 25 years, who doesn't have 8th graders that they're scouting for 2034 or whatever. But I actually don't hate this. Again, if Giannis asks out and this is the package that you get back, I don't think Bucks fans are probably going to be more pissed that they're losing Giannis and not really care about whatever comes back in the trade to begin with, to be honest with you. But I don't think this is bad for any parties involved. The Knicks are not giving up a crazy amount of their rotation. Mikal Bridges probably is irrelevant if you bring in Giannis anyway.
Would this trade make more sense if it was Josh Hart going to the Pelicans and OG Anunoby going to the Bucks? Like, that's probably better for the Bucks, but I don't think the Pelicans are giving up the Bucks first for Josh Hart if they could get Bridges or Anunoby. So that's kind of where, I
agree with you. I think you have to give, if the Bucks want to pick back, then the Pelicans are going to have to get something better than Josh Hart.
So, what if, just throwing a scenario out there, what if I put Portland in here instead of the Pelicans, and Portland's giving 2 of Milwaukee's first back to Milwaukee, and OG Anunoby is going to Portland or something like that?
Now, that's even better.
Yeah. So, this
back.
2 of Milwaukee's picks back, whatever years Portland owns them, I think 29 and 23, whatever it may be. But again, those picks are so far out in the future. If you're not getting your own first back till 2029.
Oh my God.
Wait.
Oh my God.
How long have you been stalking this trade?
Whoa.
It was like an ad lib.
Huh?
It's like an ad lib in a song.
I literally turned on my camera, saw Giannis, and clicked add to. Wow. Oh my God.
All 3 Antetokounmpos are going to New York, Corban. The Empire State.
New York, coach.
The bright lights. Wow. See, the Pelicans are here, so Zion not a part of this trade?
He's in Charlotte already.
Wow, you did wow.
So here, Corban, you missed my rationale. So
Yeah, I did.
what I figured you have to add a third team because the Knicks don't have the draft capital to get Giannis. So I said, okay, it's either going to be the Pelicans, who have the Bucks 2027 first, or the Blazers, who have multiple Bucks first. And I figured who's more likely to give up a Bucks pick knowing the Bucks are trading Giannis? The Pelicans, who already gave up their own unprotected pick, and the Pacers. That was before Halliburton tore his Achilles, whatever. Or the Trailblazers front office, well, the Trailblazers have a good thing going. I said the Pelicans are more likely to be willing to give up that Bucks pick than the Trailblazers would be. So then I figure, okay, they have to get Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby somehow. So for this, I did Bridges. I was just giving a scenario where OG Anunoby could go to Portland and the Bucks could get 2 of their first-round picks back rather than 1 from the Pelicans in a 3-teamer. But like this, you're not getting that much pick capital from the Knicks for Giannis. So this would have to be a situation where Giannis requested a trade me and my 2 brothers to the Knicks.
Sorry.
I mean, yeah.
Can you repeat that again? What did Giannis request?
No, one time.
Boo.
Please, Steven, say one more time.
Oh boy.
I'm just like envisioning Giannis being like, trade me and my brothers to New York.
I would like to go with my 2 brothers to New York.
Ooh, that was a good
Ooh,
one.
that was a good impression.
That was a good one.
Well done. That was solid. That was solid.
So, like, my thinking is the Bucks do get 4, like, tradable guys that they could get for additional assets that could help them win meanwhile, since they don't have their own picks to bottom out. Like, Deuce McBride has value at $4.3 million for 2 more years. Yeah, Buscelli isn't working out in the next, but we saw last year he's a valuable role player. Josh Hart and Jordan Poole, maybe you can't flip at that contract, but again, you need to make the salary match for Giannis at $54 million.
What if Zion was in this? Like, in all seriousness,
yeah, he could be.
Yeah.
no, like in all seriousness, I think this would actually make a lot of sense for the Bucks instead of Jordan Poole here, and for the Pelicans, honestly.
But would the Pelicans give up Milwaukee's first back to them if they're giving up Zion?
Yeah, absolutely. You give up a first to get rid of Zion? Are you kidding me? He's a negative. The guy we talked about Zion plenty, but
yeah.
Corban, would you give up a first to get off of Zion?
To get off of him? Don't they have like an opt out?
That I do. I have to see. I think after this
They
year,
have an opt out in the contract.
non-guaranteed.
Yeah. No, I would definitely not. I could just waive them.
I would.
See, that's where I might lean over with Julian. That's where I might lean over with Julian.
Why am I
back?
Yeah, if you're getting something like that back.
Oh,
yeah. If you're like, no, not just like empty, but like assuming you're getting something like
let's say
sure.
Instead of Jordan Poole.
Yes.
Sorry, I should have rephrased that better. That was my bad. I asked that question poorly.
I'm not gonna just let him go and giving a first student. No, but
no. You're not just dumping. No. We're not talking dumping Zion. It's not a salary dump. Sorry.
Okay.
I definitely made it sound like that. My bad.
Yeah. No, you're all good. If that's the case, no, I would do it.
Okay.
Like we're gonna have this guy here for every year playing 20 games a year. You know. Yeah.
Does this trade work if Zion's in there instead of Jordan Poole?
The Bucks.
It would definitely make it a blockbuster.
There's probably a way to make it work. Like you probably have like Gary Trent Jr. going back to the Pelicans for an extra $3 million because Zion makes a little bit more than Poole does, by like $7 million. So like you could make it work. Again, I just don't know if the Pelicans would the Pelicans give the Bucks first, knowing Giannis is gone, and give up Zion to get Mikal Bridges and Dadier.
The rationale would be that with Zion there, the Bucks pick isn't nearly as good.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's what I'm asking. Like,
that's the rationale, and I think it's again it's the New Orleans Pelicans, so
yeah. I mean, like they already gave up their own unprotected first this year to Atlanta to trade up to get Derek Queen.
Yeah.
They traded 23 and their own protect. Like that was the second most egregious trade I've ever seen behind the Luka Doncic trade.
I don't think this is nearly as bad as that.
Yeah.
You know,
We'll see how Derek Queen looks.
So, like, but my point is, unless OKC, Houston, or San Antonio are going to pony up for Giannis, this is what the Giannis package is unfortunately going to look like. I know people probably watching this podcast or listening to this podcast saying, how do you have Larry Markkinen going for 2 firsts and 2 swaps and Derek White going for all that he went for, but Giannis, you're basically barely getting a single first.
well, those guys didn't ask out.
Well, yeah. So, like, there's obviously all trades are circumstantial. Like, that's what I think you could take away from this.
Yeah, like if Giannis says I'm going to the Knicks,
and for what it's worth, I think not that I reference Kevin O'Connor for anything, but what I will say is he made a good point on Twitter that Giannis' wife and kids are moving to Greece. They do not like Milwaukee. They are living in Greece full time. The Newark airport is the only airport that could accommodate Giannis flying back and forth from Greece that frequently. They're the only ones to do year-round flights. So yes, he's gonna want to go to the Knicks or the Nets.
So Giannis don't have the bag where he can just fly wherever he wants from Greece.
He can't go to Greece back and forth wherever he wants unless he
can't afford a plane to fly him from whatever private airport to Greece whenever he wants. This guy's making over $100 million. This guy can afford to fly to Greece whenever he wants. What are we talking about?
I think you should tell him that as a GM. Hey, honest, so you're gonna get your own plane and fly back and forth.
I mean, maybe I'm dumb and I don't know air laws and stuff, because maybe you can't just fly wherever. I might be just super naive. I know nothing about airplanes, air travel.
It becomes increasingly expensive.
Either way, like
that's okay.
If he wants to go to the Knicks,
that's fair.
Yeah, this is yeah.
You know what? Giannis to the Brooklyn Nets, guys.
Giannis to the Philadelphia 76ers, only an hour or so away from the Newark airport.
Only an hour away from Newark. It's a great pitch.
Paul George, Jared McCain, VJ Edgecombe,
Oh.
and all the Clippers picks.
Chubby's cheesesteaks, only there.
You lost me. Yeah. The least
Okay.
spot Corban knows in Philly.
For real.
But Corban knows a lot about Wawa.
Yo, damn straight.
So, okay. This concludes this episode of the Bird Rights podcast. Raid review. Let me ask you one quick question. Again, I know we're already an hour 37 in. Which of these players we talked about is most likely to be traded before the trade deadline? Probably has to be John Moran, right?
So we talked Trey Murphy, Trey Young, Trey Murphy, Zion, Lowry,
Sabonis,
Derek White, Giannis,
Anthony Davis,
Larry
Markkinen.
You said Larry.
We're still missing one.
Devin Booker.
Giannis.
Devin Booker.
So out of those 10, it's probably John Morant because he's the one.
I'd say Ja or Laurie.
Okay.
I would lean Ja, but I'm not against Laurie either. Yeah.
It's got to be Ja, because we could come to a point where he's just sitting out and just not playing basketball. And I think Trey Young's hurt a little bit. Ja, he might. There could be more impasses still to come.
Yeah. So, okay. This concludes this episode of the Bird Rights Podcast. Whether you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify, Apple, wherever, check it out check it out on YouTube because I'm posting, the full screenshots of the trades. I know a lot of these are very convoluted. But otherwise, follow all of our work at thecenterhub.substack.com. We're doing a lot of college basketball work right now, live streams every Sunday night. Andrew Schaefer and I are doing a Last Week in College Basketball recap piece every Monday morning. I'm doing my top 75 teams in college basketball every Tuesday morning, so be on the lookout for those. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter at @the_NBA Eagle. That's NBAGELL. You can follow Corban at Corban NBA. Go listen to the Indie Basketball Podcast. Corban NBA, why are you making that face?
You paused for a second. I thought this used to be second hand for you. You used to know it's like the back of your hand, and now you get the weight.
I used to, yeah.
Times have changed. It's just crazy.
Okay, don't listen to the Indie Basketball Podcast.
Yeah. Max was on it. Listen to. We're gonna get Julian on it too. So let's chill.
There we
We
are.
got it.
Follow Julian at 12J Mendel. Follow Maxwell at Hoops Disciple. The O's or zeros. Follow the Center Hub on all social media platforms at the Center Hub _BB. Am I missing anything? I think I'm good. Anything else you guys want to plug? College Basketball Magazine.
Oh yeah.
Go purchase that. $8. It is in our pinned tweet on Twitter. Again, I know college basketball season is already a couple weeks in, but again, invaluable resource for anybody who's trying to learn who their favorite team are playing, especially during non-conference play. Otherwise, I think that's everything. So myself, Corban, Julian, Maxwell, we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for listening.